S-curve vase. And it's called the S-curve vase because you can kind of see like the letter S, you know. So there's a couple steps to it, but you know, we start with a really straight, as tall as you can get it, as narrow as you can get it cylinder. That's why, you know, mastering the cylinder is important when you're, you know, making pottery. And then what I'm gonna teach you how to do, we make a belly, then we make the neck, and then we make the flare. So it's multiple little steps, okay? The cool thing is that when it's time to trim it, you trim it exactly the same way as you do a mug, okay? Now, when you make a vase, you want a little bit more clay than a mug. Your mugs have been slightly over a pound, maybe 1.25 pounds. For a vase, you definitely want 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds, depending upon what you can handle, okay? All right, so like I said, everything's gonna be the same in terms of making the cylinder, so I'm gonna kind of go through that a little quickly, since you know that part. So a couple of tips to make a nice tall cylinder. You want to set up your clay for success from the get-go. So I'm going to make like a tall skinny dome, right? That makes sense. If I'm going to make a really low kind of flat dome, well then it's going to be hard for me to get a tall skinny cylinder from that. So I'm going to start with a tall skinny dome. Okay. Okay. Now you guys, you know, would be measuring your thickness right here. Been throwing long enough, I don't need to do that. But you do want bottoms on your vases, okay? So make sure you're careful about that. Now, when you open your dome, because I want a tall, skinny cylinder, I'm not going to open it very far. I'm really just opening it up enough that it's going to allow me, you know, to get a couple fingers in there so I can make my pulls. That's it. Don't go wider than that. Okay, now I'm compressing. All right, so now I'm gonna make my pulls, and I've talked with some of you about trying to make actually a volcano. So centrifugal force makes the clay naturally go out, naturally. That's what it wants to do. And you gotta fight against that, you know? So you have to fight against that by actually, you know, pulling your wall and trying to go the opposite way. And then it's like, you know, they'll cancel each other out. If you're trying to make the wall go this way, but the wheel is trying to make the wall go that way, it'll land nice and straight in the middle, okay? So how I do that is my outside finger is always just slightly above my inside finger. Just slightly when I make a pull. And that's how you get it to go to the center. Now, that was a little dramatic, but I just did that to show you. So outside finger slightly above my inside finger. So I'm gonna just release and show you what my position was. About like that outside finger, inside finger. Okay. So your goal is just to get it as tall and as thin as you can. I think I definitely had 2 pounds. So that's a lot of clay for you guys to start with, you know, definitely 1.5 pounds, 1.75 pounds. If you work up to 2 pounds, awesome. But don't make yourself struggle just because you have a little bit too much clay. All right, so just like my mugs, I'm still gonna use my rib to kind of straighten it out. Plus I'm smoothing out those throwing marks, which I don't mind. I think throwing marks are beautiful, but some people don't really like them. All right, now that I made that look really simple, we all know it's not, but you do know, practice just makes a difference. Okay, so now I gotta turn this into an S-curve vase. And I want you to see it in parts, you know, from about here to here, we're gonna make a belly. From about here to here, we're gonna make a neck. And then from here up will be a flare. And you're gonna work on it in sections, okay? So the belly is first. I like using a rubber rib when I make bellies, okay? So that may be something you want to try. Just if you use a rubber rib when you throw, please wash that and actually put it back, okay? But what I'm gonna do, I don't know if you guys can see very well. So from the inside, my hand is gonna be pushing that belly out, okay? So my inside hand's gonna push the belly out. Like I'm gonna do a pull, but my inside hand's gonna stop and push the belly out, and my outside hand is gonna like rub over my inside hand. So inside hand's pushing out, outside hand is doing this. I'm like folding the clay over my hands, okay? Oh, here I go. So my inside hand is right here. Look, I'm gonna start to push. Can you see that? Okay. My outside hand is just gonna rub around my inside hand as my inside hand pushes. Okay, that's just with my fingertips. I do like the rubber rib because I can bend it and I can you see, Sophia? I can make it fit right on that curve. That's what ribs are designed for. They're designed for shaping your clay while you throw. They're shapers. Okay, and so notice I'm not doing anything from here up. You know, I'm just ignoring it. I'm just kind of pushing that belly out. Now, you don't have to push it out a lot because when we make the neck, the belly will actually get bigger, okay? So just give it a little belly, it'll be okay, it's gonna get bigger, all right? Next is the neck. So now I'm just gonna work starting here. I'm not gonna touch this portion anymore. And the way to make the neck, it's called choking, because you're literally going to move in on the clay and choke it, okay? But you have to be slow and gradual. You know, clay can never be forced to do anything. So you gotta make it really wet and slippery. Same with your fingertips. Right there in the middle, I'm gonna start, I'm using all my fingers and my thumbs, and I slowly start to squeeze it. But guys, you've got to squeeze it and then work it up and off the clay. Okay? It's just like coning, but way more gentle. Okay? But it's just like coning. Get it slippery. give it a squeeze, squeeze it, but then work it up. And notice my speed is slow, okay? I'm not forcing the clay, I'm just guiding it. And you keep doing that as many times as you want. You know, how skinny do you want your neck, and how much can you, you know, push the clay before you lose it, before it flops. Okay, so that's choking it. Now, when you choke it, you have to get it super wet. So I go ahead though and dry it off a little bit after that, because you know, all that wetness does make your clay very weak. Okay. So I did the belly, I did the neck, now I'm just gonna do the flare. And the flare is really easy. You know how you compress rims? It's pretty much the same thing, except now this hand that holds it is actually gonna kind of take it and pull it. And I'm gonna make it land on my outside finger. So I'm gonna pull it, and my outside finger is like supporting it. Doing it over here so you guys can see. Over here so Sophia can see. And again, you get to decide, like, well, how much do I want it to flare? Do I want it to come out almost flat? Do I want a subtle flare? Do I want a lot of this neck to flare, or just a little part? Those are the things that, you know, I want you to test out as you try to make vases. And then you just need to make sure your rim is happy. And then cutting it off the wheel is the same. Use your knife and get that extra junk at the bottom. Scrape it off. And then break suction. Make your ice skating rink. And push it off. Okay, and then that will go onto your board just like a mug. You'll cover it lightly. When it's time to trim, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, you're going to put it down like this, center it. Just be careful when you anchor it, because you've got this fragile kind of flare now. So when you're sticking anchors on it, you just want to be careful. You want to definitely be careful that this is ready and not soft and mushy. Okay. So again, it looks easy, but please allow yourself just chances to like practice, and don't